Hello guys and welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about everything we know about the upcoming Borderlands movie being made by Lionsgate. So let's get right into it. Alright, so our story starts back in mid-2015 when it was announced that a movie based in the Borderlands universe was in the works over at Lionsgate, which is exciting. Ari and Avi Arad, who have worked on the Blade franchise, the Ghost Rider franchise, the Iron Man franchise, the older, better Fantastic Four franchise, the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, Ghost in the Shell, and they were executive producers on Spider-Man Homecoming, were signed on to help this movie. GEARBOX president Randy Pitchford had this to say about them. Quote, "I tell you, I trust those guys a lot. Ari and Avi Arad are great. And Ari really wants to be the guy to figure out how to make good video game movies. There are a lot of guys in video games who feel it's a big risk to see a film made because so far there haven't been great examples of video game films. And fortunately the Arads have figured it out when Avi was doing Marvel and did Spider-Man and Iron Man and X-Men. He figured out how to make them comic. Which is something that's really important to Borderlands. Yes, it is kind of a gory franchise and that's just how it always has been. But figuring out how to add the humor in there is what changes it and makes it different from Mad Max, which we will get into later. And also fun facts about the Arads, they actually helped co-launch Marvel Studios back in the 90s, which is exciting. So now we jump over to Lionsgate Motion Picture co-chair. He had this to say about the upcoming movie. Quote, "The Borderlands games don't pull any punches, and we'll make the movie with the same in-your-face attitude that made the series a blockbuster mega franchise." End quote. Which is important. And then this kind of gets into the next thing we have to say about this. Randy Pitchford once again said, quote, "Lionsgate seems to get Borderlands, and we are giving a mission to them, to make the first good movie video game, and knowing Borderlands, it will probably be rated R." So this is something important, a rated R Borderlands game. After Deadpool, making R-rated movies has been the new craze with Wolverine and everything like that, John Wick. But I think Borderlands is a series that can do it right if they're doing it for the right reasons and don't just make it needless swearing, because that's not what the games are about. Like, ever since Borderlands 1, people complained when there was gore in Borderlands 1, they liked that, and then they complained when they took it out in Borderlands 2. So maybe if we go back to the gore in actual Wasteland, that will kind of add to it. Okay, so now we go back to another quote from Randy Pitchford, quote, "This film is just one angle," he said. "So my question at DICE were, what about the other ways we can figure out how to reach people with our video game brands? How do we reach people outside of the same group of video game customers that we are always talking to over and over again? And it's a tough problem. If we want to reach people around the world or reach people that we've never shown the stuff before, we've got to face it. Books, movies that are really fun and do right by the franchise, that are really engaging and entertaining for large audiences. This gives me a lot of hope that working with them, we can figure out a good film." So also exciting, especially because if you don't know, the CEO of GEARBOX, Randy Pitchford, he helped create the Borderlands franchise. He's been there since the beginning. He had a lot of the ideas that came to fruition in this series, so for him to be as excited as he is and trust these people enough, definitely builds a lot of leeway and makes us a little bit more forgiving on them taking their time and wanting this movie to be right. So now we fast forward to 2016. A report came out by The Hollywood Reporter that Aaron Berg is set to write the script, who has only worked on 3 other projects according to IMDb, one of which is being G.I. Joe 3, which hasn't come out yet, but I mean, cool, I guess. He's an indie writer. Maybe he really understands the franchise. I assume they wouldn't just get any writer in there. He probably had to know something about it or is playing the games to kind of get an idea and read up on the lore so that he does right by the fans. Because if the fans don't go see this, is it really a success? No. No, it is not. The other piece of information we learned in 2016 is that they're going for a Mad Max in space type vibe, which is kind of unfortunate, because they are both two totally different franchises and work off different things. Borderlands is the crazy wasteland with characters that are memorable and lasting and more goofy than Mad Max, so it just kind of sucks that they do kind of have to say, oh, but it's Mad Max in space. Like, why can't it just be Borderlands, the Wasteland? Like, Borderlands is what it is. Why can't Mad Max just be a more realistic version of Borderlands? It just kind of sucks that they're already confining it and morphing it to what they're trying to sell it as. So that was everything we learned in 2016. Now, during 2017, the last piece of information this year was at E3. During a live stream, CEO Randy Pitchford was talking about it again. He said, quote, "We've been developing scripts, and the strategy that we're on right now is that it's obviously all in the Borderlands universe. But rather than retell the stories that were in the game, we'll create new stories so the films will have their own film canon. We'll use the characters and scenarios in similar to what Marvel is doing. You can't read any particular film plot in a comic book, but there's a lot of the characters, themes, and in fact, some of the situations are represented." End quote. Okay, so this is exciting. I mean, it kind of sucks that they'll have their different canon, but then hopefully the people won't feel so confined to the 6 sirens in the universe at once. Like, they'll still have that, but then they won't have to already keep account for the sirens we already have, because the game's kind of doing its own thing. And if you saw my last video, we're already up to 3 sirens alive right now. So if the movie created one and Borderlands 3 created one, we'd be at 5 alive in the universe, and that only leaves space for 1 more. Okay, so let me know, did you guys learn anything in this? When do you think the Borderlands movie will come out? Do you think it will come out before Borderlands 3? Thank you guys so much for watching and continuing to support this channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys in the next one.